Okay, this is Sebr, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, this is the matter of the state of Iowa versus Maurice Don Sebr. It's Sac County SRCR012424. The record should reflect that the state is represented by County Attorney Ben Smith. The defendant is present in person with his attorney, Joe Heidrink. Are both parties ready to proceed at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Go and stand before the judge there. Raise you.
Swear the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth under penalty of perjury. Okay, go ahead and take the witness stand.
Mary, I want to ask you some questions. You're, could you state your full name and spell it for the judge?
I'm Mary Marlene Sebr. You want me to spell all three?
Mary, your first and last name is fine.
Mary, M-A-R-Y, Sebr, S-I-E-B-R-E-C-H-T.
And Mary, where do you live?
I live at 2831 Corey Avenue, Odebolt, Iowa.
And have you been a Sac County resident for a long time?
Since I retired from teaching, I moved back here in January of 2001.
And how long have you been living at your current residence since then?
No, I have my own residence.
How long have you been living there?
I don't technically live there.
Okay.
I go up and take care of my mother on a daily basis.
I guess my question was, where do you call home? Like, where do you sleep at night?
At night, I sleep at my own residence.
Okay, and that is where?
At 2831
Okay.
Corey Avenue.
Okay. I'm going to turn your attention, Mary, to, well, let me first ask you, how many siblings do you have?
I have two brothers.
And is one of those the defendant?
Yes.
And defendant Maurice Don Sebr?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and is he sitting at the table right in front of you there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to turn your attention, Mary, to September 23 of 2013. And on that date, did you have an argument, an altercation with your brother?
I didn't consider it necessarily an argument.
Mm-hmm.
He had come up for coffee.
And he being who, when you say he?
My older brother, Don.
Okay, defendant.
Yes.
Okay, just if you could for the court, explain to the court, go through that day as best you can.
First I would like to know, when you say he went up, he came up for coffee,
Mm-hmm.
where was the coffee?
That is at my mother's home.
And that's where?
And she lives at 2534 Corey Avenue at Shaler.
When I had asked earlier, just to kind of explain as best you can in your own words how this incident or encounter came to be.
As I said, he and his wife came out for coffee.
And when I'm going to interrupt you, when you say he or she or they, try not to use pronouns, just say he, be as specific as you can, as if nobody has any idea who he or she
Oh, okay. Don and his wife Connie came up for coffee, and I'm in the process of making coffee, okay? And I proceeded to ask him various questions related to some of Mom's business. I'm her POA, okay? Don has an objection to talking to me as the POA. There have been other incidences where he's wanted to do things, and Mom says, I don't know anything about that anymore. Ask Mary. But Mary never gets asked. So that was the day when I proceeded to question him about things related to some of Mom's business, you know, as far as the bin, because they use Mom's bin, and that, you know, electricity paid and things like that. And anything I mentioned, he just seemed to get more and more agitated. And yeah, I probably should have shut up, okay? But it was on my mind, and I wanted to know. Connie, his wife, was off in the living room. Their son and daughter and grandson had also come up, and they basically were off in the living room. When their son, daughter-in-law, and little one left, Connie came out of the living room, sat down at the kitchen table, and the conversation turned to my mother and where she resided. They think she should be in the nursing home.
And again, they.
Pardon me?
Who's they? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don and Connie think she should be in the nursing home. And that would be fine and dandy, as I said to them, if, as a POA, they got, Don and Connie got the phone calls that I got the 5 weeks that she was, my mother was in the nursing home. She couldn't figure out where she was. She thought she was in a hotel.
Your Honor, I'm going to pose an objection not to upset the apple cart, but I believe this has become a narrative as opposed to an answer to a question.
You know, I think I'm tracking along okay, so, I mean, it's,
Very well.
she's setting the groundwork here for what happens.
Yeah, okay, Mary, if you could just explain, at some point in time there was this argument or this discussion became heated.
Yes, as I told them, you know, Mom wasn't happy there, and she kept carting all her clothes to the front door and would get out, and then they'd have to call me at all hours. And I said, well, if they wanted to take that job, they could. And that's where Connie stuck her mouth in and said, well, they wouldn't do that to me, me. And with that, I snapped, and I turned to her and said, would you please shut up? At that point, Don was out of his chair telling me that I would not tell his wife to shut up. I was shoved up against a counter, and I was beat about the head, the shoulders. He choked me, and this went on. My mother, who's 95, tried to step in between us like she always has when this happens. Okay?
Okay, Mary.
And I ended up on the floor being...
Okay, so when you said he came
Don.
up. Okay, Don. Okay, now, did he touch you before or after he spoke to you? Like responded to your statement, shut up?
Oh, he came out of the chair immediately, Don did.
Okay, so when he was speaking to you about what you had said, did he have his hands on you at
Oh,
that time?
definitely.
And if you could be as detailed as possible, the sequence of events as far as in the physical sense. Did he first grab you? You know, did he just wall off? And I mean, how did this?
He crowded me up against the counter, proceeded to beat me about the head and the shoulders.
Beating you with what?
I'm sorry?
Beating you with what?
His fist.
Okay.
Take a look at Don's fist. They're not small.
Okay.
Okay? And he proceeded to choke me, and I'm leaning back like this. And I, usually when he would do this, Don has beat me up before, okay? I would cower like this and try to protect my head. This time, I kind of remember the training that we had in school, that, you know, we, as a teacher, are supposed to break up fights, and if they turn on you, you go for two vulnerable places. You go for the crotch, which I couldn't get at because I was being pressed up by his body against the countertop, or you go for the eyeballs, which I had my hands up like this, protecting my head and my face as best I could, and I'm going for Don's cheeks. That's what I ended up with. I was actually going for his eyes. And at that time, I had fairly long nails, and the only thing I could think to do was to dig in and try and make him let me go.
Okay. Did you report this incident to law enforcement?
Immediately. I had told him at one incident prior to that, a few years before, when he had drawn back the big fist, that if he ever touched me again, I would have him arrested. I would see him in jail.
Your Honor, may I approach?
May.
Mary, I'm handing you what I've marked as State's Exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 4, which purport to be photographs of you and your person following the incident. Can you tell me, as best you can, and I know that you had issues with your eyesight, but can you see the little sticker at the bottom right-hand corner?
Well, this one looks kind of like a 1, a 2,
I tell you what, I'll hand them to you one at a time.
and 3 and 4.
Okay. Yep. Start with State's Exhibit 1. Can you tell me
Okay.
what that is?
It's kind of the, like where he had his thumb when he was trying to strangle me.
So that's a picture of your face.
Yeah, not very attractive, I know.
Is that a fair and accurate description of what your face looked like just following the incident?
Yeah, it became more pronounced later as the days went along.
Okay. And the same questions for number 2, Mary. Is that also a picture of your face?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And what does that picture show?
Well, I have some cuts and whatever in the forehead
Okay.
and temple.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of what your face looked like following the incident?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall either exhibits 1 or 2 approximately when those photographs would have been taken?
Well, I mean, I was on the phone calling over here immediately before, I'm sure, before they even drove off of my mother's place, being down in Connie. And he showed up within, I would say, a half hour.
And who's he?
This is the deputy sheriff,
Okay.
John Hatterman. And, we talked about what had happened, and he took some, pictures and asked me what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And at that point,
Well, let me just stop you there. Let me show you these last 2, okay?
okay,
State's Exhibit 3. Again, same question. Is that a picture of your...
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What does that show?
It shows bruises, below my ear and on my neck. Were
State's Exhibit 4. What does that show?
one of the many bruises that I had on my shoulders and back. And
State's Exhibit 3 and 4 accurately depict what you believe your injuries were following the incident?
yeah, and I'm sure that there were more because, how do you take a picture of a swollen head?
Sure.
Type of thing. And I didn't take off my jeans to show my legs and stuff.
Okay. At this point in time, the state would offer Exhibits 1 through 4 into evidence.
Has Mr. Heinrich seen them?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No.
1 through 4 received.
Mary, do you have any other information about this matter that you think is necessary for the judge to consider that you haven't already stated?
Well, he knows, my brother Don knows what he did. He knows what he's done in the past.
Just 1 second here. I about lost my notes here, so I'm gonna make sure that they're saved. I learned a lesson about this just today from somebody. All right. So My notation is that 1 through 4 are received. What did you do after that?
I just asked Mary if there's anything else that she wanted to provide to you to help you make your decision here, and I think that I don't want to get too far into the weeds with other matters, because the issue today is just one of simple assault. You know, motive and things like that are already been dealt with, so I don't have any further questions for the witness at this time, Your Honor.
All right, any cross-examination? Well, first, it's kind of a general, apparently I'd asked you the question, or something else you wanted to offer, and, you know, if there's something you feel is important that you have not testified about, as far as, you know, don't go into why he did or anything like that.
Don has been beating on me various times for the last, or threatening, for over 50 years. Even prior to his marriage, okay? And it always seems to come down to his wife, Connie.
Okay.
Even the day that this happened back, you know, a year and a half ago, September the 23rd of 2013, he was very well aware, Don was, of what he was doing. In fact, he went home, immediately called our younger brother, Myron, and said, well, I did it again. Myron said, what'd you do?
Your Honor, this
Yeah,
is hearsay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Cross?
Yes, Your Honor, but before I cross, for purposes of the record, I would make a motion to dismiss. I don't believe that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that this alleged offense took place in Sac County, and for that reason, I don't think we can go any further.
Well, she has given the address where the action happened. 2534 Corey Avenue in Shaler. And that may or may not be Sac County, I don't know, but at least the address is part of the record.
And I'd also add, Your Honor, that venue, even though it's something that we routinely provide to court here, venue is something that needs to be raised on a pretrial motion, and a pretrial motion to dismiss or to change venue, and that wasn't done in this case. So,
well, I'm going to overrule the motion because, you know, maybe we'll have to supplement as to where 2534 Corey Avenue in Shaler is, but that address is part of the record.
And it's in Sac County.
And we can determine whether or not that's in Sac County. If that were not in the record, you know, then we could argue that point. But this, I'm trying to. I want to make this notations. And I would say, Mr. Heidenreich, if you want to present some evidence that 2534 Corey Avenue is not in Sac County, you know, then
Your Honor, with all due respect, that's not the point of my objection. The point of my objection is that 2531 Corey Avenue that you elicited from the witness as a response was not proven in the case in chief by the prosecution to be in Sac County. I don't believe it's my burden to prove that it is in Sac County.
we've got an address, so.
2534 Corey Avenue.
Right, that's,
Did I misspeak?
you said 31.
I think the point of my objection is well understood.
All right, Cross-examination.
May I call you Mary?
Yes.
Okay. Mary, what is your age, date of birth?
I am presently 69. My birth date is May the 26th, 1945.
1 second. We're in the middle of a trial. Go ahead.
May I ask the names of your father and mother?
My father's name is Morris Eldon Sebrecht,
You know, I did not get her date of birth. It's May 26th.
1945.
Okay. All right.
My father is Morris Eldon Sebrecht. My mother is Gazina Guerra Bruns Sebrecht.
And your mother is still alive, as I understand it,
She is?
and your father has passed.
Yes.
And your siblings are, please tell the court,
Morris Don Sebrecht.
being
who
the
we've-
oldest,
Yes, and we've always referred to him as Don.
correct?
And my younger brother is Myron Carl Sebrecht. He's the younger.
Okay. Donald is married.
Don
Don is married to Connie.
Connie,
They have children.
yes.
Is your other brother married?
Yes, he is.
Does he have children?
He has 2 sons.
What is your educational background?
I have a Bachelor of Arts degree plus 30-some hours of college education.
From what college or university?
I actually graduated from the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls, and I did my continuing education both in Iowa State University in Ames and University of Nebraska through Omaha.
So you are an instructor or teacher.
I was.
And what did you teach?
I started out in home economics. Proceeded from there, I went into co-op education with seniors only, who went out and worked in the public domain, and I supervised them. And the last 10, 12 years, I was in junior high setting up a, they changed home ec to calling it life management, and I was in charge of setting up this new program.
Okay. From the time you graduated from college and started teaching, where did you teach?
In Council Bluffs Community Schools.
Throughout your entire career?
Yes.
And when did you retire?
I actually retired January the 19th of 2001.
From 2001, previous to that, from when you started teaching, then your residence was in Council Bluffs, would that?
No. I resided in Omaha.
Okay. Your residence was in Omaha then?
605 South 36th Street.
Okay. When did you move back to this area?
I moved back probably, let me see, that was Friday. About the January the 23rd or 24th of 2001.
Okay. 14 years ago,
Yeah.
approximately. Have you ever been married?
No.
Okay. When you moved back to this area, did you move to the home that you live in today?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, was Don farming the family land?
Yes.
Okay. And previous to that time, while you were teaching school, was Don farming the family land?
Yes.
So, pretty much from your dad's death, I would assume, forward, and maybe before that, it's not relevant, I don't think, but from that anyway, Don has managed and farmed the family land, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did you become attorney in fact for your mother?
I was temporary, probably about, let me see. You know, I haven't really looked this up and I don't have the papers in here with me. I know I became her actual power of attorney as of probably December of either 20 2011 or 2012,
Okay,
when she began to have serious dementia issues.
okay. From January 2001,
That
and
date
you-
again, please. When do you believe you received the power of attorney?
I could go out and get a paper.
Just approximately, that's good enough.
I know it was like December, mid-December of, I want to say 2011.
Thanks.
It was on, well, maybe I can preface this. It was also on the books prior to this, but not officially.
So it was like a standby power of attorney before
Yes,
that?
right. And I had that for about 5 years, 6 years before I went to the attorney and said, let's make this official. Mom's agreed.
Okay.
Mary, from the time in January of 2001 till I believe you said December of 11, you lived in the house you're living in, but were not attorney in fact for your mother, correct?
I can't say that officially because there were a lot of her businesses that I took care of. What can you call it, pro tem? I mean, before I finally said, let's make this official.
In other words, you may have been helping your mother with your business, but as far as a official power of attorney, that wasn't until December of 11. Is that-
That's
okay.
pretty much, yeah.
Did you see your mother every day?
Yes.
The period I'm talking about is 01 to 011.
Yeah, I know.
So, did Don see his mother every day?
No.
How often would Don see his mother?
Oh, to begin with, I would say probably every 2 to 3 days.
A lot of times they had coffee in your mother's home, is that correct?
That's right.
And Don has 2 children, does he not?
Yes,
Aaron is one of them?
yes.
Okay. And I believe if I remember your testimony from direct examination, you said that Aaron was at the house on September 23rd when this accident happened. Was his other child, Paula, there that day?
No,
Would have Aaron been able to hear the language back and forth between you and Don on that particular day?
that is, I would have to say no, because Don and I were in the kitchen, and Aaron, his mother Connie, and the small child Jake were way at the other end of the living room, and they were entertaining Jake.
That answer somewhat surprises me because on your direct examination answers to Ben, you said that Don got loud and you yelled at each other. You used the
I
word-
didn't
you
say
used-
I was yelling.
Okay,
I didn't say that Don was yelling.
okay.
He got heated as far as answering me, and I was trying to stay calm, even though I wanted my questions answered. The only time that Aaron might have heard is I asked Don something about the grain bin and the
Correct.
electricity,
Correct?
and when they had used it. And Don called into the living room to Aaron and said, can you remember when we might have used the electricity for the bin? And, you know, it hasn't been paid.
Did your end of the conversation indicate to your mind at least that Aaron heard the question?
Yes,
Because Aaron answered, didn't he?
yes, but at that time, Don was talking in a louder voice.
Okay. So it's possible, isn't it, that Aaron and his wife, and possibly Don's grandchild, could have heard the communication between you and Don?
Not to any great extent, no.
Well, it's possible. Your testimony just proved that, I believe.
Only that part of that conversation.
Okay. Did you also have a conversation about a $40 check?
Yes.
And what was your question or conversation about the $40 check?
I wondered why Don and his wife Connie should be paid $40 each to come up and mow my mother's lawn.
Okay? Why wouldn't you ask your mother that?
Because she was not real competent at that point of handling her finances.
Okay. When did she become incompetent?
I would have to say it was shortly after, no, I would have to say it was before. Let me stop and think here. See, this was 2013. I would say she had reached the point of being incompetent around December of 2012.
Is that based on your own experience, education, and observations?
It's based on the fact that she could no longer write her own checks, basically. She could not, when bills would come in, she didn't pay any attention to them. A lot of times I would find them in the garbage. And
Can you tell me again when the date was?
I would have to say around December of 2012.
That's what I have. Okay, thank you.
Because after we had finalized the fact that I was the power of attorney, it was just like she said to me, "You're my power of attorney, you do it, Mary. I have no interest in this anymore."
Who mowed the yard for your mother from 2001 till 2013?
My mother mowed her own lawn.
When did well, obviously she didn't mow the yard after she became incompetent.
Yeah, she did, as a matter of fact, and shouldn't have.
Okay, so then did you question Don and his Connie getting a check because they got paid for something they didn't do?
No.
So you believe they did mow the yard?
I know they mowed the yard.
You object then to them getting paid for mowing the yard?
My objection was this. I was up there every day preparing her meals, washing her clothes, seeing to her physical needs as well as her social needs, and I don't get reimbursed for that.
Well, you're her only daughter, aren't you?
Yes, and Don is the only son that lives around here.
I understand that.
Okay, so my question to him has been, why should they get paid for doing something for our mother that most children would do free gratis because we were raised by our parents and were not necessarily expected to pay them back for that?
Okay, it's understandable. Did your mother ever indicate to you that Don asked to be paid or that she just paid him?
My mother, whenever anybody comes other than myself to do something for her, will immediately say, "Where's my checkbook?"
Right.
In fact, she did that very recently when Don was there and moved snow on her place.
Okay.
Okay, and he came in briefly and she said, "Where's my checkbook?"
And sometimes would you agree with your experience in teaching and so forth that sometimes it's easier to take a check than argue with somebody? Sometimes it's easier to pay for a meal than argue with somebody?
You
Have you ever been in that situation?
You can take the check,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to cash it.
I see. So how did Don respond to you when you questioned his motives in getting paid for mowing his mother's yard?
He got upset.
Did you want him to get upset?
No.
Okay. When you
I
had,
mean, we had this discussion before one time on the phone when she had given them checks.
Mhm.
And I said, "Why do you expect to get paid for something that you should be willing to do for our mother?"
Right.
I mean, and he said, "All right, I'll tear up the goddamn thing."
Did he tear it up?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
All I know
When was that
is
conversation?
probably a month prior to this incident.
So part of this altercation, at least, is driven by who gets how much money and for what?
No,
It isn't.
no.
Well, you testified before that you did everything and never got paid, but anybody else but you that came up and did anything for your mom, she went and wanted to pay him, get the checkbook, I want to pay him. That's what you said.
That is an example.
And that
I
bothers
used.
you, doesn't it?
Pardon me?
That bothers you, doesn't it?
No, because if it did, being the power of attorney, I could take care of that. And I haven't.
I see. It bothers you a little bit that Don got paid for mowing your mother's yard, doesn't it?
Only from the standpoint that he knows that mother is not capable of taking care of her own finances. And I see it as his taking advantage.
You see it as his taking advantage. I understand that, believe me. Now, your mother, until she became ill in, let's say, December of 12, I believe you said, or was it, yeah, December of 12, had a very good relationship with her son Don, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And to this day she does, doesn't she?
That's a little hard to say, considering that Don hasn't really been in her home except maybe for twice since September 23rd of 2013. And don't bring it up that that's my fault.
Mary, thank you for saying that. I'm not going to bring up anything's your fault. What I'm saying is, since September 13th, since this complaint filed by you, hasn't there been a no contact order in effect between you and Don?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were at your mother's home and Don came in, he would be in violation of the law, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And so if his lawyer, being me, told him to stay away from his mother's house if you were there.
If I was there.
Okay. So you don't know, though, personally, when he was there when you weren't, do you?
No.
Okay.
But
As we speak, your mother is not pushing this issue.
no, except
That's all I wanted to know, thank you. Now, when you filed this complaint on page 5 of your, which is part of the court file, and I'll show it to you in a minute, I don't want to confuse you, but of the minutes of testimony, the reporting officer testified when he first got there that you said, I just want to know if this is true and accurate and complete on your part, she does not need an ambulance.
I beg your,
That's what
wait a minute.
the officer reported in his report, that you stated to him you did not need an ambulance.
I did not need an ambulance. No, at that point, I would have to say, no, I did not need an ambulance.
Thank you. Okay, the next page of the report says RP, I think that means reporting party, declines to pursue this matter at this time. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. What, I'd like to take that back and say, between the time that this happened and you filed the complaint, you know how long that was?
I think this happened on a Monday, and I didn't actually file the complaint until Wednesday.
Okay. Did you seek legal counsel in the meantime?
I did see legal counsel. It was not for that reason.
Okay.
Although the incident came up during my speaking with that legal counsel, because I turned my head and he said, "What happened to your neck?" And that was on Tuesday.
Okay.
And I said, "Just a family problem." And he said, "Tell me about the family problem."
Okay.
So I did.
And then at his urging or somewhere down the line, you made the decision to file a charge for whatever reason.
He asked me how long these types of incidences had been going on, and I told him, and he was very verbal about what I needed to do with the person, namely my brother.
So you did it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you, at the time of this incident, did you get a sufficient answer about the use of the grain bin and the electricity?
No.
Do you think that Don did something to somehow take advantage of your mother financially with this electricity issue?
No.
Okay, what was your concern then?
I was getting the bills.
Okay,
Because everything on my mother's place runs through basically one meter. It isn't separated, and it can be separated, all right? But it would be difficult. So I was getting these $300, $500 bills for her electricity, knowing that wasn't just the house, and I'm paying her bills. So that's where the question came in, have you been using the electricity for the grain bin, and how often, and so forth. And I actually pursued it and got a hold of the electric company and said, can you tell me when this large amount of electricity started running through the meter, how long it lasted, and so forth. And somewhere, yeah, I have a report on that.
and is it because of Don using the bin?
It was because they were either cleaning out the bin, or they were running air over the grain, or something like that.
Were they not supposed to be doing that?
No, they were supposed to be doing that.
They've been doing that for years, haven't they?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
but in addition to this, it was like, I have to pay the bills now. How do we figure, we've done that before, figuring out how they would reimburse my mother for the electricity that they use for the bin.
Okay, but you have to pay the bills, you said. You have to pay your mother's bills.
I pay my mother's
Right,
bills.
and if your mother says, I want Don to be paid for this, you just pay it, don't you?
No,
You question it?
of course.
Why?
Why wouldn't I question that? I question any other bill that comes in.
What if your mother, when she was okay, wanted to pay it? Why would that be your decision instead of your mother's? It was your mother's money, wasn't it?
At that particular time, I didn't pay attention to her checking.
When did you start paying attention to her checking?
When it became apparent that she wasn't.
I see. So this hasn't been something that's been building up over a period of months and years?
No.
Okay. Isn't it something that's become more acute since you moved back here in January of 2001?
No.
Haven't you been more and more interested in your mother's business as the time goes
Not
on?
until I was, the beginning of her actual, it became apparent that eventually she was going to need a power of attorney.
Right.
And so we went to a lawyer and set up a temporary agreement that when she decided, then I would be the power of attorney because, and only because, I'm the one that basically saw her every day.
Okay.
And I was the one that went with her when she had any business to take care of at the banks and this type of thing.
Who did that before you were home when you were teaching school?
She took care of it.
Did anybody ever help her?
No.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions from your direct question answers to Ben, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I don't have a photographic memory. One of the questions was, did Don become agitated? You said yes, he became more and more agitated as the conversation went on. Saying, Connie, would you please shut up?
The agitation occurred more before she came on the scene.
Okay, but you do remember telling Don's wife to shut up?
I turned to her and said, would you please shut up?
And if the evidence would come out in other witnesses and testimony that you told her to shut up twice, is that possible?
I, at one time, made the comment to her, another incident.
So, all right, fair enough. And then
he also got up out of his chair that time.
Okay, so you knew from previous experience that when you told his wife to shut up, it agitated you.
That might be true, although at the moment, at that particular moment, I felt my conversation regarding our mother was done.
All right.
I mean, we're the children.
Right, understood.
And I don't need...
Now, Mary, I'll ask the questions here. You have never been married, correct?
No,
And this is somewhat sensitive but needed. Do you have any children?
no.
Okay. Do you have a reason why, after once telling Don's wife to shut up, knowing that enraged him, saw him once almost come out of the chair?
Not the same incident.
No, a previous incident.
Okay.
Your testimony. Knowing that his son, his only son, his son's wife, and their child is in the next room, and you're telling his wife to shut up.
They were not there.
Well, his son was there.
No.
He was in the other room of the house.
They had left.
Okay. All right. But you knew that Don became enraged when you did this. You just said you did. Correct?
Well, he did.
Yeah. But you did it anyway. And then on direct examination, when Ben asked you, you said, I probably should have shut up. But that's what you said. But then you said, Connie, would you please shut up? You knew that was going to enrage Don, didn't you?
No, I didn't think about it from that standpoint.
Well, let me ask you this then. Isn't it true that a reasonable, ordinary, college-educated person who's been down this road at least once before would know that a man married 40, 50-some years to a woman and the woman was told to shut up would enrage the man? Isn't that something that a reasonable, ordinary person could deduce from the situation?
Perhaps, but at a point...
That's all I wanted to know. Now...
it becomes obvious that...
Now, just a minute. I get to ask the questions. Ben can ask me some later on if he wants to. This really came down to provocation, didn't it?
You want to explain yourself on that?
If you wouldn't have brought up Connie, and if you wouldn't have told her to shut up, we wouldn't be here, would we?
I didn't bring her up.
You told her to shut up, didn't you?
Yeah, because she was interfering in a conversation with my brother and I.
And that provoked Don Sebr, didn't it?
What, that I told her to shut up?
Yes.
He should have told her.
Maybe he should have, but that provoked her. That provoked him when you told her to shut up, didn't it?
So it provoked him.
Just a minute. Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Redirect.
There you
All right. Any additional evidence on behalf of the state? Ma'am, you may step down.
The only thing, Your Honor, is that the state would ask that the court take judicial notice of the trial information that was filed in this case. Trial information averred that proper venue was in fact Sac County, that a district court judge did approve that there are certain matters that need to be raised before trials, at least in the district court, and I believe the same holds true for magistrate court. Venue being one of those matters, specifically that motion to dismiss for improper venue must be raised at I think it's like 20 days before trial.
Why don't you ask her on the record?
Well, I think that she had already stated that, but I didn't know if it was within the scope yet. Ask if there's no objection from the defense.
I mean, he can object, but the address is in the record prior to the motion. And if you want to expand on
Mary, where this incident took place, the incident I'm referring to is the reason why we're here. That incident, did that occur at a residence within Sac County?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going down to pay the property taxes on that property.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
any additional evidence on behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right, state rests. You may step down, ma'am.
Your Honor,
You're welcome to stay if you wish.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I apologize. I have a little exhibit list that I've prepared, and I gave it to you electronically, so it should be in there. But I forgot to ask if these are pictures of her brother. If you'd rather not do them, I think they're already.
I think just ask her if.
I'll just ask you this. Are these pictures of Exhibit 101? Yeah, I think there's 3 pages there. There's 4. Just go through them after these. Are they pictures of your brother after the incident?
I have no idea. I didn't see him after the incident.
Is that, okay, are they pictures of your brother?
They're pictures of my brother.
Does it look like they've been clawed by fingernails?
Well, something, either that or he ran into a barbed wire fence.
Okay, thank you. We were to offer Exhibit 101.
No objection.
Let's see if I can.
We have a paper copy of it here too, Judge.
Yeah, why don't you let me see the paper copies.
I do have a question. Are you implying that I don't have the right to defend myself?
Not at all.
101 is received.
Would you rather have this without the cumbersome cover?
No, that's fine.
I don't know what.
It's not something for us.
So go ahead. I mean, if there are more that you want to. So 101 is all of the pictures. So there's 1, 2, 6.
3 documents total, I think, 2 pictures on each page.
And I guess the foundation that's in the record right now, as I understand it, is that these pictures depict her brother. She has no idea whether this was after the incident, before the incident, today, yesterday. She just says, yeah, that's my brother.
And I don't have any objection with him coming in, maybe, and this is something for defense, the defendant, but if he wanted to get on and lay the foundation just as to the piece of evidence that is in fact his, you know.
I think, if he takes a stand, then he's waived his privilege against self-incrimination. So,
what I think,
perhaps there's another witness here that can say, this is what he looked like after, immediately after the incident or a day after or whatever. But as of right now, what the record reflects, as I understand it, is you asked the respondent, or I'm sorry, the alleged victim, whether these photographs showed her brother the way he appeared, I guess right after this incident, and she said, no, I can't say that.
and
She did say, he's my brother.
and I guess
And she said one other thing, but that's so.
What else did she say?
She also said that, I said, could this be as a result of being scratched by fingernails? And she said it could be, or he could have ran into a barbed wire fence.
and I guess
That's what she said.
just because the officer is not here, and in a fairness to defense counsel, there is a statement in the report that that Hatterman did observe these and took these photographs. I'm not offering evidence, I'm just stipulating to certain facts that the court could use to allow for that foundation necessary for those to come in as depictions.
Okay, so these were photographs that the officer took, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Close this for a minute while I catch up here. So the state is stipulating On the date of the incident?
I think it was the same date that, on or around the date of the incident.
Oh, by the barbed wire fence. Can I have a little humor here?
Yeah, right.
All right, you may step down.
Mayor, you can either stand here or you can go out in the hall. It's up to you. I can meet you out in the hall after this.
Okay.
You do not want to stay?
If I can have, just a minute. Oh, you have, okay.
Does Hatterman have 2 T's?
That's all I want.
2.
So you'll sit back in the back. All right, the state has rested. All right, Mr. Hydrant.
I would make a motion to reassert my motion to dismiss based on previous grounds I will not bore you with again, as you know what the issue is in my particular motion. And then I would further ask that you make a direct motion of acquittal in my client's favor based on the fact that the defendant, or the victim, alleged victim in this situation, clearly, through her own testimony, admitted that she provoked her brother and that she knew that what she did would provoke her brother.
Do you have any authority that telling his wife to shut up would be sufficient provocation to excuse an assault? I don't think it does. I think self-defense is a legitimate defense. I'm sorry, I had my recorder turned off. So, for purposes of the record, we need to, Mr. Heinrich, you tell me if I have this correct or incorrect, but at the close of all of the state's evidence, you renewed your motion based on the venue question. And again, I'm overruling that motion. You then made a motion for a directed verdict of acquittal on the grounds that I think the gist of it is that the alleged victim here stated that there had been a previous incident in which she had told the defendant's wife to shut up and that he was provoked by that. And that on the day in question, she was aware that telling the defendant's wife to shut up was likely to provoke him, and you're alleging that provocation then, I guess, is a defense to the assault allegation.
And in addition to that, it takes away one of the requirements that must be proved by the state of Iowa. In an assault, the intent to assault someone, intent to scare someone, we believe that has been erased by the fact that the alleged victim knew what she was asking and did it.
In other words, she was asking for it?
I wouldn't say that, Your Honor.
Is this the she was asking for it defense? Is that?
No.
You know,
of course not.
You know, I'd welcome any authority that you would have that would, you know, I mean, to me, pretty much the only defense to an assault charge is self-defense. And
I would ask for 10 days if I could get you some authority on that.
yeah, that's fine. Right. And are you going to present evidence?
We are not calling the defendant.
But are you calling Connie, or are you going to call his son or anybody like that?
No.
All right. So other than Exhibit 101, which I believe the foundation for 101 which is agreed to by the state, is that these photographs were taken in close proximity to the incident involved in this situation. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
And, Mr. Smith, you're welcome to provide any evidence that you wish to provide relative to this question of provocation. All right.
Thank you.